Hello Twin Flames, this is Victoria and I'm here with your daily energy check. This is going to be a special edition reading dedicated to the full moon in Gemini that we're going to be experiencing. For me, for my time zone, it's going to be at 11 p.m. on December 7th. For you, it might as well be December 8th, depending on where you are in the world, so you can check that information for yourself. And actually, important information to know is always that point is like the peak point of the full moon, right? But we're definitely already under the influence of that energy, and there will be a shadow period like in a couple of days after that. Well, the energy will still be impacting the collective and the unfolding of different events. So today I decided to take a look. I've got two oracle decks with me, so we'll get guidance for the twins and specifically look how this full moon is impacting the twin flame journey. I will pull cards on what it means for each of the twins. We'll get guidance, we'll see what it means, and also we'll see how it impacts the connection itself, right? So lately I've been focusing mostly on each of the twins separately and what's going on with them, right? But today we're gonna have a separate deck to take a look at the connection space, how this event is impacting the energy as we speak, for the connection, for the dynamic, and also how it's going to impact it in 2023. This is the last full moon of 2022. It's pretty exciting. It's also called the cold moon because apparently a lot of these nicknames come from the Western Hemisphere and Northern Hemisphere. When this time is associated with winter and cold, right? This is like pre-Christmas, pre-Hanukkah, pre-holiday sort of full moon. The change in the climate, in the weather, in the length of the daytime, it impacts the energy for sure. So that's kind of hinting on that. But most importantly, this is full moon in Gemini. It also is happening as we have Mars in retrograde, we have Neptune in Pisces, we have Chiron still in Aries. Like there are some other placements from the planets that are pretty important. So generally speaking, this is the full moon where our goals, our manifestations become more tangible, right? That's why we've been talking about it the last few days, that it's important to set yourself straight for that. Yes, this is kind of the end of the cycle in terms of the lunar cycles, right? And it's gonna present you the, so to speak, the results of the work that you've been putting in, right? Or the energies that you've been putting in, right? It could be positive or negative, it could be a lot of focus or not at all, right? And this is where you're reaping the fruits of your labor, so to speak. But what it also means is that if this has been a productive cycle, if you are ascending to the next stage, right, it's going to give you clear vision, and that's the clarity of the moonlight, right? Clear vision on what that will look like. It may look a little different or a lot different from what you imagine, but as always, we're supposed to be on spiritual path, we're supposed to be open-minded and grateful for the opportunities that we receive. Also, because it's in Gemini, this will allow us to, this full moon is gonna bring in the energy of being more clear in expressing our feelings, emotions, thoughts. First of all, we're going to be more clear on what's going on with us. And we saw the trend in the readings the last couple of days as well, right? Like this conscious understanding, right? Why am I feeling this way? Why is this triggering me, right? And you will be able to be more cohesive in your communication with other people, of course. Okay, let's get started. So the first deck I'm going to take is going to be the Keepers of the Light deck. So this is going to give us some guidance for each of the twins for this full moon. We'll start with Divine Feminine as always. Oh, that was a lot. Let's try again. And I will be using my foil deck again. I like it so much. Okay, looks like we got something. Odin, Psychic Insight. Yeah. Your third eye is open, see truth for what it is, follow your intuition. Yeah, so that's again this full moon illumination energy, right? Where you're starting to see the things come up to the surface, right? And you're able to see them. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be happening, but it's more of a realization, which is usually the knowing that we get through psychic insight and through the third eye vision. So pay attention to what you are seeing, what you're experiencing at this time. Very important. What do we have for divine masculines? What's the advice for divine masculines during this full moon? The Holy Spirit, expect miracles. Ooh, love this. Remember that only love is real. Miracles will occur naturally. Spirit has your back. Yeah, so it's kind of like, if something is troubling you, divine masculines, this is a nudge that you shouldn't try to undo it or redo it or regret it or whatever, right? Like, it doesn't require a lot of effort from you. It's more for, again, for your realization, for you seeing what is real and what isn't. And because Spirit has got your back, you know, they're gonna help those things that are not love, that are not true, fall away. So you don't really have to focus too much on those. Focus on things that are love, that are real, that are authentic, where you can be authentic, and put more of your focus towards that and towards multiplying the miracles. Okay, now with the foil deck, we're gonna see what is actually happening in DF and DM energy as this full moon unfolds. And we'll start with the feminine, of course. What's happening during this full moon time for divine feminines watching? Knight of Wands. Any clarification to that? Death. Wow. Wow. Yeah, and we've been getting it again for a couple of days in a row now. What about divine masculines? What's happening here? Ooh. Not sure if I'll be able to get it from here, but it is a hangman. It fell away too far, but we'll have to just deal with it. Any clarifications for the hangman? We have the Tower in reverse. Okay. Bottom of the deck, Three of Cups. So there is a celebration in mind, and I guess it's pretty obvious considering we're in the month of December, where a lot, in more than one culture, like in a lot of cultures, we have different holidays. There may be personal holidays happening at this time, but definitely the twins are getting into this celebratory mood, right? Like the mood of gratitude, the mood of joy, of having a good time, right? Look at these people raising their glasses, dancing, right? Like there are so many reasons to celebrate. That's what I'm hearing. And the twins understand that this is like, it's important to savor that moment and to make the most out of it. For the feminines, the energy is pretty passionate and sensual at the same time. But I'm getting this is a very important switch from being guarded or being closed off. If you remember, I think it was in one or more of my zodiac horoscopes for December. And by the way, all of my zodiac horoscopes are now out on my other channel, Mindful Bamboo. So you can check those out by your zodiac sign. But yeah, basically there was this vibe of the King of Swords energy, and this is a very good change from it. It's a bit less mature energy, but in this case, it's part of this transformation, or part of what is bringing the transformation along, right? Looking at the situation with more of that excitement and passion, right? And without necessarily thinking about all the consequences or having several backup plans if things don't work out, you know, like being a little bit more reckless, but in a good way here, right? Where you don't really have to know all the answers, you don't have to have everything figured out, right? But whatever you see in front of you, whatever opportunity comes up, you need to go for it. And then for the masculine, so we had the Hangman clarified by the Tower in reverse. There is a bit of a pause, and I'm getting this is one of those, you know, they talk about fight or flight response, and there is a third response, which is about being frozen in the moment. So this is what I'm getting for them. There is like so much going on around, so there is a bit of that frozen in the moment situation where the masculines are feeling that they're supposed to make some big decisions, or something is going to change, some major change in their life is going to occur with this tower, and they're trying to delay that moment, or they're kind of dreading that moment, right? They don't know if they can delay it, but they're trying to kind of, how do I say it? They're trying to avoid situations where those changes could occur. So kind of like playing it small, playing it safe, like going with their routine day by day, week by week, because they feel intuitively that they're not ready for this yet. And that's kind of the point of a tower anyway, right? It comes in and it's like, for a person experiencing this, it's a shock, right? It's like, whoa. It doesn't have to be negative. Most of the time it is pretty negative, at least in the moment, right? And it's coming whether you want it or not, because it's a major arcana and you can't avoid it. But there is some sort of like dragging their feet from divine masculine side. Okay, with the other deck, we're going to take a look at the connection now. So let's see how this full moon in Gemini is impacting twin flame connection, the dynamic itself right now, like during this time. What's the impact on the twin flame connection, on the relationship between the twins? What is changing with this full moon? Knight of Pentacles and the Hierophant. Very strong earth energy, especially Taurus. And then the other question is, how is this full moon impacting the journey for 2023? Or how is it setting it up for 2023? What kind of change is it initiating? The Queen of Wands and the King of Swords in reverse. Okay, it's similar to what I was just explaining, but it's interesting and it's going to be relevant for both twins. And here you can also see how the divine feminine is actually a spiritual leader majority of the times, but then eventually, because the twins are so much in sync energetically, they are one basically, that eventually it's whatever the lessons that, or the work that divine feminine is doing, it impacts divine feminine world, life, worldview, right? What you do for yourself, you do for the twin. And we can see that here clearly, because what divine feminine is experiencing now is definitely going to extrapolate on divine masculine and on the connection itself. Six of Cups, bottom of the deck, you can make it up, it's the twin flame. If somebody needed a confirmation that they are included in the story, this is relevant for them, this is your confirmation, the twin flame card. Okay, so for how it's impacting now, we have Knight of Pentacles and the Hierophant. So the twins are moving towards something, having something stable and something where they don't have to, like, it doesn't have to be secretive or too much of a kind of like magic, voodoo, and unimaginable things, right? Like the twins are kind of grounding this energy, this relationship into the 3D, so that it's something that they can explain to themselves and feel comfortable with, right? So they don't have to kind of make all the big decisions right now, because if it's not time for union yet, you don't really have to worry about it, right? But this gives them an opportunity to feel more at ease themselves on what's going on and what's coming up, and also to be able to include other people into the storyline, right? Like, for example, if I'm talking to one of my friends, you know, certain aspects of the story and my relationship with a twin flame may sound weird or even crazy, or, you know, she'll be like, oh wow, that sounds bad, why are you still talking to that person? Something along those lines, right? You've probably all heard it or seen it, noticed it. And the same for the masculines, right? But with this grounding, with this foundation, with this clear idea on like what it is and why I'm doing this, why it's important to me, what's the positive side of this, right? How is it important in the long run, right? Like this realization, first, it means that the twins are taking ownership of what's going on, and there will not be as much of a victim mentality and situation where like, well, I was doing my best, but they did X, Y, Z and messed it up, right? And yeah, so giving them more calmness and inner peace about this connection, right? Especially to divine masculines, I'm reading. Those masculines that are not in awareness, they're not awakened, and they are still wrapping their head around what the hell is this all about, right? Because you cannot really put a usual name on it. Like, what is this? Why am I being magnetized to this person, right? Like, against all odds. Now, this is adding specifics and clarity to the story. For how this full moon is impacting 2023, we have Queen of Wands and King of Swords in reverse. So I started talking about being less rigid and closed off. I'm just still imagining the King of Swords. It was that coldness, right? Coolness in the, what was the name of the deck? Anyway, the Spellcaster's deck, there we go. But yeah, that's the idea. So things are turning around and making twins kinder, more compassionate, and more intuitively sensitive to what's happening, right? Like, it's not just by logic, it's more by intuition, by the vibe, by the energy that they will be driven, and that their decisions will be driven by, right? Like, it doesn't have to make logical sense 100%, right? It's not the most important thing. Or for you to look cool in the situation, right? Whatever that is. Like, no, I'm not gonna give away this information. I'm not gonna talk about how I feel, what's bothering me, or whatever, how happy I am to see this person, right? Like, those considerations, like those silly kind of restrictions, self-restrictions, they go out of the window. And the twins are able to be more in a caring and appreciative energy towards each other, towards themselves, I'm hearing, thank you, and each other. Okay, last but not least, we'll get some guidance from the Angel Therapy deck. Couldn't miss this one, of course not. So we'll get a piece of guidance for Divine Feminines from the angels. What's the advice from the angels for Divine Feminines during this full moon? I love this deck so much. It's a small deck, but it's so cool. Solar plexus chakra. It is safe for you to be powerful and take charge of your life in positive ways. So feeling of safety and empowerment, however you can bring it about, or at least do the chakra work on the solar plexus chakra. That's gonna help big time. And that's gonna help with this Knight of Wands energy of going for it. That's why you need that confidence and empowerment, because it's time to act. We're very much into the Sagittarius energy now, right? And Sag is asking us to act, to go for it. Don't wait for some better moment, right? Do it now. Okay, what do we have for Divine Masculines? Workshops and seminars. That's fun, right? Speaking of which, I am doing it's a webinar. Web seminar, right? A webinar on the personal astrology next week. There will be a video and some details today. Hopefully I'll set up my registration form today as well, but you can always just drop me an email and let me know that you'd like to get registered. We'll do it through Zoom. It's gonna be a live session with Q&A, but if you cannot attend, there will be a recording available and you'll be able to catch up later. You can also submit your questions in advance if you have any. But let me provide some details on, what is it going to be about, what are we going to be looking at, and then you can decide for yourself and prepare your questions. I'll be doing it from the DR, yes, you got it right, because I'm going to be on vacation next week, like on my trip, but I decided that I don't want to wait till like the actual holiday time, because I want to give people, while they're still in a more active mode, to give them some food for thought, and maybe there will be something to start looking at and working on even before the holidays come. So, workshops and seminars for the masculines. Attending and giving speeches is part of your spiritual path and purpose. Be open to teaching and learning. That's the ultimate note to it, right? It's about teaching and learning. We are the master teachers. And Divine Masculines are asked to pay attention to this experience, to both of those. And for some people, it's going to be more challenging to accept the learning path and how they are learning from their experiences and from other people, right? For some people, it's going to be hard to accept the teaching role, which they already have, and I'm sure it all do in some shape or form, right? But this is important to acknowledge both and how important it is on the personal journey and the journey of the spiritual path. And I mean, they actually pay a lot of attention to speech here. So not just any teaching and learning in general, but this is about speeches. So I would add, if you have any divine masculines watching right now, that also pay attention to your throat chakra at this time and make sure that it's clear and you can clearly and confidently speak your mind and express your thoughts. Okay, that's actually part of the Gemini, full moon in Gemini aspect, the Gemini aspect of it. All right, I hope this has been useful for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love you all, and I'll be back with more readings very, very soon. Bye, everyone.